Brazil is a country with exotic fruit and many influences from all over the world, including the Amazon, Japan, and even has the top 12 restaurant in Latin America. It gets messy, boozy, and very tasty. This is everything I ate in Brazil.
Come with me on a street food tour of Rio de Janeiro.
We actually did a food tour in Rio de Janeiro because we felt like this would be the best way to try some local dishes. Our first stop was named after crabs. There was this spicy hot sauce and oil, but we were here for the cod fritters. Look at how good those look.
This is bolinho de bacalhau.
I'm sorry in advance for the lady screaming behind me. I couldn't edit it out.
And it's basically cod inside of a fritter. And it looks amazing. And I'm going to put some of the hot sauce on it.
Actually supposed to just pick it up with your hand and dip it in the sauces, but I didn't know that until I ate it. The batter is made with potato and herbs and spices.
That was spicy.
This was so good. A perfect first stop. Ulysses, who was our guide, kept telling us how local this was. He then took us to a restaurant that served Amazonian flavors.
Now we're going to try a northern Brazilian dish called tacacá.
Ours had shrimp in it, but it also had this herb in it that effectively numbs your mouth when you eat it. And it's this right here. It's called jambu. And the dish itself is tacacá.
So sour. Oh, this is going to make us feel tingle. Jambu. It makes your mouth numb. And it's from northern Brazil.
It is definitely one of the more interesting things I've ever tasted, but it was really good. Drinking the broth was almost like drinking pickle juice. If you like pickles, you'll like this.
It's so good. I like it.
If you saw one of my shorts about going to the local market in São Paulo, then you'll know we got a little bit ripped off for the fruit. He was asking if we could try one.
Look at how much that has over there. Ooh.
Even the avocados were absolutely huge. Basically, everything felt supersized. And then I saw the custard apples.
Fruta do conde. It's a custard apple, but this is a red one and I've never had that before. Always a winner.
I was also so enamored with how many peppers there were absolutely everywhere. There were so many different types of peppers, and I guess that Brazilians love hot sauce because there were a ton of different options. We saw some seafood, and then we saw all of these herbs and spices that were freshly ground up.
Now we're going to try queijo de canasta. It's from the countryside. He said they do really good cheese, and it's almost like the champagne of cheeses. It has to be from there.
And my friends who told me to try this were absolutely right. This was so yummy. I brought some home and ate it all. Now, although these aren't Brazilian, they actually come from Chile because fruits like that are easier to be grown in a colder climate, and they're technically European fruits. I then spotted this old grinder, I guess, for the spices that was still being used. I thought that was super cool, and generally just wandered around and enjoyed the market and snagged some samples whenever I could. Okay, now it's time to move on to our next spot and try some more local foods.
We are in Lapa Loca. It's the bohemian neighborhood, the party neighborhood.
We then saw a portrait of Marielle Franco. She was a politician who stood up for minorities. She was also an out lesbian. She was murdered and it's still not solved. As we walked through Lapa, we went to Bar do Peixe, and I was in for a treat. While we waited, we ordered some ice cold beer. Brazilians love cold beer.
Yeah, we drink this.
For some reason, they named their beer Antarctica. I'm not sure why, but I love the drinking culture here. It's a lot of fun.
That is a cold beer.
Okay, this isn't Brazilian, but I love to add lemon or lime to my beer. I think it just tastes better. Finally, our fish came out. It is a fried fish, and you really don't need any sauce on it, but this sauce is made with shrimp shells. combined with fish bones to make it kind of gelatinous. It wasn't my favorite thing, but it was really interesting. And then the rice actually has fried garlic on it, and it just makes it so tasty. The whole dish combined is absolutely so flavorful and so yummy. But honestly, I could gain so much weight in Brazil because the food is absolutely amazing. As we explored Barrio Lapa, I could imagine what it would be like kind of during the night. I was told it does get a little bit crazy. I loved all of the street art, and I was excited because I was told we were going somewhere very famous. You may have seen these stairs before, and although they were pretty crowded right here, we were able to eventually get a small shot.
These are the famous steps. Apparently this is barely even crowded, but it's pretty crowded.
Alright, I know those stairs made a little cameo, so it's time to go check out more food. But I absolutely loved the street art. Brazil is full of street art, and I think it is so beautiful.
We're off to the market.
On my first day in Sao Paulo, I decided that I wanted to go get some fruit because everyone knows the Brazilian fruit is amazing. Immediately, we were given amazing fruit being flung in our mouths. We couldn't even keep up with it.
So now he put a date inside of a strawberry and I'm gonna try it.
I really don't think this was Brazilian at all, but it was pretty good. A little bit unnecessary. Still good. The plums are not Brazilian, they're actually from Peru and Chile, but apparently the jackfruit grows literally everywhere.
So good.
Now this is definitely a local fruit. And another one. We made a slight mistake and we only started asking the price as soon as he was wrapping it up. He told us per 100 grams, so that was a little bit confusing. And we ended up paying about $15 for all of this, which didn't seem too bad. But now that I think about it, it was definitely a little bit of a ripoff. But oh well, I guess it's known that they charge a lot at these mercados. Now, there isn't just fruit at this mercado. There's also lots of other items like cheese, nuts, different types of salted fish. There's even little restaurants that you can eat at, and there's lots of cheese.
So we just ate a lot of really expensive fruit. I'm not sure if we got scammed into the prices, but we spent like $15 and we got a lot of heavy stuff. So now we're going to try to find some food and a beer.
I'm so sorry for how my voice sounds. Unfortunately, there was music blasting. And if you know anything about YouTube, you can't violate those copyright laws. Now, what do you think this is? Because I had no idea, and then I realized that it's tobacco. I felt like it looked like something a little more grotesque. And I'm not someone who smokes tobacco anyways, but I thought it looked kind of funny, so I decided to show you.
We were just walking around and we found a random place to get a beer. They handed us beer in the middle of the chaos.
As in, we were literally just walking by and a woman handed us a beer and she seemed to just be handing them out to everyone. It's pretty hot and I usually don't drink during the day because it gives me a headache, but I decided to have one. Now, if you don't speak Spanish or Portuguese, then you are going to be a bit lost. Luckily, we speak Spanish so we can kind of decipher the Portuguese, but it's definitely different.
She just brought this over. I think it's a soup, but I have no idea.
I loved that she was just marking the beers down on this little sheet and that apparently if you order 50, you get one free. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Finally, our sandwich came out. It is a bacalhau sandwich. And no, that's not mayo. That is herbed butter. So good.
This is a bacalhau sandwich. It has olives and arugula and there's some fried tomato on there.
Now, the fish that is in here is actually the salted cod. So all of the cod that you see sitting around is salted to preserve it for longer, and it gives it a really yummy texture and flavor. Overall, the sandwich was really good, and the bread was totally crispy. Obviously, you can tell from all of our mess.
Fail. A big fail of my end.
But in actuality, I kind of think when you eat messy, it means it was good. As this man left the top of his shop, we also felt that it was our time to move on. So we wrapped it up and we asked for our check because we had an interesting place left in store for us. Sao Paulo has the largest number of Japanese immigrants of any city, which is not something that I would assume when I think of Brazil. Because of this, Liberdade has become the barrio that has tons of Japanese restaurants and also other styles of Asian food. Everyone says this is a must visit in Sao Paulo, and while we do have Japantown in parts of the US, it's still a nice place to visit if you're in Sao Paulo.
I am currently in the Japanese/Asian district.
You can kind of see how they've modeled it in that classic style of a Chinatown. They have really cute Japanese cookies and lots of yummy desserts. These are located at 89 degrees Celsius Coffee Station. It's a pretty well-known Asian chain, and now they have these croissants, which I think they call New York croissant. In order to get in and leave, you have to use your little mechanical ticket. Once you pay, you can put it through the slot and you can leave. It was actually so crowded that we didn't end up getting anything. Walking through the streets, there's anything that you would want to find in a typical Chinatown. Although it is technically Japantown, there was a similar vibe. I had seen so many videos about one ramen shop in particular that you have to visit if you go to Lapa, and it's called Ramen. I have no idea how it got its name, but sitting down, I felt like I was in any other ramen shop in a different part of the world. Now, because we don't eat pork, unfortunately, we could not get their tonkatsu style, which I think is probably a better ramen. So we ended up getting a miso base, which was vegetarian. It was different than other ramen that I've had for sure.
This is supposed to be the best ramen in all of Libertad of São Paulo. So let's try it.
My first thought was that they pre-cut the noodles, which killed me a little bit inside.
The noodles are tough.
In all honesty, I saw a bad review from a Japanese guy, so I wasn't expecting too much.
It's huge, obviously, so you get a good value for okay.
Again, so sorry for the background noise. I am definitely getting a better mic soon. Then it was Tilada's turn to try.
So it's not ramen, it's ramen. And you can tell the difference. It's ramen.
I think what we mean by that was that it wasn't bad, but it's definitely not true ramen. Now let's switch gears a little bit because Brazil is very much known for their fine dining. Tonight we're dining at Oteque, rated number 47 in the world and 12th in Latin America. We started off strong with amazing bread and butter, and we decided to have the wine pairings, even though we have a flight tomorrow. The first course was a play on ceviche, a grouper, caviar of course. They then brought out the second wine, which was for the next course, an oyster, a sauce made from green apple. As we listened to the description of the wine, which I will save you the details, we were told that our next course, instead of pork, would be replaced by mushroom. Generally, it's a pretty seafood-based menu, except for this one dish. We took our photos and dug in, and we wanted to lick the plate. The sauce was so good. The meal was getting progressively better. We also got new silverware with every new dish. Now, don't come at me for being picky, but I also don't eat octopus or squid, basically because of how smart they are. So this one had heart of palm instead of squid. I should also mention that this was Dilada's birthday dinner, so that's why she's the star of the show right now. You're not going to believe this, but this wine was crazy. It literally tasted like garlic. I don't even know how to describe it. This next dish is as Brazilian as it gets.
This is pirão, and it's actually a sauce that is made from the shells of the shrimp, and they blend it and they emulsify it, and it's so yummy.
We moved through the next course, and although it was a bit basic, it wasn't at all. It was a perfect production of fish, and we awaited our final course before the dessert.
Cream of caramelized Brazilian nuts, pickled shallots, pickled carrots, also roasted carrots, and a dust made out of fermented tomatoes.
For the final course, they brought out a champagne because we mentioned we don't like sweet wines. The dessert was fabulous, and we were given a little extra pour, not knowing what for. But of course, they had to serve a beautiful birthday cake for the birthday girl. Overall, Oteque deserves all of the accolades that it's gotten. At 845 Brazilian reals, $175, I think it's a well-priced menu at a great standard.
Happy birthday to me!